So I haven't made a pallet video in a while, so today we're going to be doing a walkthrough of Bargain Spot LLC. They are opening actually a new huge warehouse, and pretty excited to see it because they're going to have a lot of new pallets, a lot of new stuff. It's already being piled full. They gave me a little preview of it, and hopefully I can take you guys along whenever they open it. But so we're going to go into their current location, just do a walkthrough of all the pallets, and I'll kind of talk through my thought process when I'm buying pallets. And then I'm also going to give you some resources for finding pallets in your location. This is in Tennessee, so if you are in the Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, Kentucky, I guess, yeah, Kentucky area, this may be a spot that you can come in and source some pallets from. But let's get on in here and see what we can find. All right, so I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of pretty much everything that they have to offer at Bargain Spot LLC. It's going to be kind of weird because I'm going to be looking at the screen and looking at this screen, so bear with me. But I did want to do a walkthrough of everything that I saw at the pallet shop, and also do a deep dive into what I think about the pallet. So this is a pallet that is kind of like soft goods. This is something that we don't normally get into, but they have these Amazon soft good pallets, which is like sheets and pillows and things of that sort. We don't normally get those pallets in, but we used to get those from bulk.com. If you remember our videos from bulk.com, we used to get a lot of the soft good pallets, and they actually do sell pretty good. $6.75 is a good price for these pallets, I believe, because a lot of these have 3 or 4 items that will probably pay for the majority of the pallet because of the brand names of the items. So, all right, so the next thing we're going to be looking at is the Target high piece count pallet. So if you saw a couple videos ago, I went through and looked at some of the Target high piece count pallet stuff. The good thing about the Target high piece count pallet is you get a lot of items in you may get over 1,000 items in this pallet. But the con is that a lot of times it's like 4 or 5 like high priced items, and then it's a lot of smaller, lower priced items. So if you don't like dealing with lower priced items, then I don't think that high piece count pallets are good for you. And that's going to be Target, and it's going to be also Amazon. Amazon has high piece count pallets as well. Target, I feel like Target has more items in the pallets than the Amazon pallets, but Target high piece, anything that you see high piece count is going to be more than probably 1,000 pieces, and that's a lot to process. It took us forever to process that, and we still really haven't fully processed it. So if you don't have a really good process for processing the high piece count pallets, then they may not be something that you want to look at. All right, so now we're going to be getting to some of the larger pallets. It's going to be more of like the Amazon pallets that they have, and you can see there's some Christmas items in there. Christmas trees. So Christmas trees do sell if you list them, especially if you have like a local market that you can offload those to. So $7.50 for a huge pallet of brand new Christmas trees probably is not a bad deal. For me, I don't really like seasonal items because, obviously you have to be able to house those items somewhere. So if you don't have a space to house a lot of items, I don't recommend getting seasonal items. We have a lot of like Halloween and Christmas items that we just hold on to, and then say, oh, next time we're going to get them listed, or next season we're going to get them listed. And a lot of times we just forget to do that. Because there's more pressing things, obviously. But if you don't have a space to put those in, sometimes it's kind of like an out of sight, out of mind thing, and you don't end up listing those items when the season comes around. So I tend to stray away from seasonal items. Sometimes we do get seasonal items just with pallets, but I don't go out and look for seasonal items. The next thing we're looking at is some of the case pack items. So a lot of times they'll break down some of these case packs, and they will sell them individually. So this was a pallet they were selling for these shoes, brand new shoes, for $10 a piece. I don't necessarily know that I would buy a lot of these because I don't necessarily like to piece part items. I would like to buy like a bulk of items and then sell them. But if you are a person that has a local market, buying these piece parts may be for you. So looking at this Delta pallet, I'm going to do a separate calculation for these Delta items because I did get the part numbers to see if this may be a profitable thing that you could purchase. But these are brand new Delta items. They are exactly the same. Delta is a really good brand if you've never dealt with the Delta brand, but this is a really good brand. People buy these. Every time we get a Delta product, it sells. All right, so looking at these Delta products, I didn't realize how much these were because I didn't look them up while I was in the store, but these are selling for like $475 around a piece on Amazon, which is crazy.
Oh, hell no.
Which is crazy because I've sold a lot of these Delta pieces before, but I've never seen one that has sold for like $400 to $500. Actually on Wayfair, they're selling for around $700. So if I'm doing my math correctly, just with the amount of this same exact type of item on this pallet, that's like $20,000 worth of profit on this pallet. Now, also there's other Delta items on this pallet that I didn't look at, I didn't calculate. I don't think I looked at the number on them, but you know, this is like a $20,000 to $25,000 value pallet. Now, looking at the you know, whether or not these items will sell, I looked on eBay just to see some sold comps, and it was a little bit difficult finding sold comps for them. I didn't do a lot of research on them, but I will say that most of the Delta things that we have bought in the past have sold over time. So this may be a slow seller, but this could be a really great pallet for you to get if you were to want to get a pallet of the same thing. So this section is a little bit more of like a health and beauty section. So health and beauty sells well for us. We've always sold probably 100% of the health and beauty stuff that we've gotten, as long as it's within date. So with health and beauty, it's very important to look at the expiration dates and make sure that you're not buying stuff that's expired. People do still buy stuff that's expired, but you have to look at the eBay policies or wherever you're selling it, policies to see if you can sell expired items. But like I said, people do buy expired items. Sometimes things are discounted or discontinued, and they can't just purchase it from like Amazon or at their Walgreens. So they will be more prone to buying it from a eBay expiration date or expired date. So kind of one of the important things with looking at a pallet that has multiple of the same item is looking at the sell-through rate of that item. So, you know, it may look like a great pallet because, you know, you've got multiple of the same, so you can do less listings. But you have to look at the sell-through rate because sometimes you have multiples of an item that doesn't sell. For whatever reason, some items just don't sell. So you really have to look at the sell-through rate and make sure those items are going to be able to be moved from your shelves to the consumer. All right, so now we're going to be looking at some of the electronic pallets. Now, these aren't the prime electronic pallets that I love. Bargain Spot, Candace Alden, y'all know I love those electronic boxes that we've had in the past. These aren't the same program, and I understand that. But these do have like some high value items in them. The only problem that I had with these was that some of the items weren't necessarily like in the best condition. So I had to like piece part or fix or even scrap the items. There was some new items in there, and overall, if you look at the lows that we bought, I think we bought like maybe 3 of these pallets, and I think they all were profitable. If we go back and look at the books, I think that all of them were profitable. But I do believe that the old electronic boxes that they used to have, which they can't get anymore, and I understand that, they were a little bit better than these electronic boxes. So I'm not saying that I won't ever buy these again. I'm just going to say that, you know, when you're buying these electronic pallets, you really got to think about where you're going to sell these at. Sell the items from these at. Some of the items we tried to sell on Whatnot, which we did, and we did make some money, but a lot of electronic items, they're going to sell for a lot more in our experience on eBay. You're going to be able to sell those items on eBay depending on the size. And these have like a lot of really good items in them. But you know, you got to open them up and make sure that they're not used or broken or missing pieces and stuff like that. So definitely probably try them out if you have not tried them out before. They do have some really good items in them, like I said, but you know, it's every pallet's going to be a little bit different. and every time you try a pallet, it's going to be different. And you can't see everything that's in the pallet, so you see just what's on the top layer, and you can't see what the bottom items are. Sometimes they have like some bigger items on the bottom, and those items are going to be a little bit maybe more difficult to sell. All right, so now we're looking at this is a Amazon pallet. And so one of the good things that I like about the Amazon pallets is that it's a lot of brown boxes, and in brown boxes, you can have anything. It could be a PlayStation 5, it could be a gaming computer, it can be anything inside those brown boxes. So don't sleep on the brown boxes, because sometimes they can hold some really good items in them. This is more of like a high piece count Amazon pallet, so it has just a bunch of everything. So anything and everything that Amazon sells could be in that pallet. But like I said, it is high piece count, and you know, heed the warning that I gave you earlier about high piece count. This is more of a high piece count pallet, and it's a little bit more expensive, but it's a lot of really good items, a lot of big brands. So you see Built on there, that's a really good brand. Loco, that's a really good brand. So it's a lot of really big brand, high priced items that you should be able to sell. And for what I purchased from Bargain Spot LLC, they have some really good items on the pallet. So a lot of times they're not missing parts, they're not broken, it's not junk, you know what I mean? And there's some pallets that I've bought that have been junk. So I will say that Bargain Spot really does a good job of getting in some really good inventory. So next we're looking at the CVS pallets. So these are manifested pallets. Manifested pallets are really good because you can see what you're buying before you buy them. You can look at all the items, all the SKUs, and understand exactly what you're going to be getting into with the pallets. The only bad thing about, I think, the CVS pallets for me is that they have a lot of items. So you're looking at, you know, 800 to 1500 items that you're going to have to process and get through. But the good thing, so it's more good than bad with the CVS pallets for me. The CVS pallets really have newer, mostly they're new items. You know, sometimes they'll have shelfware, you know, maybe a couple of them got smashed, maybe a couple of them are expired or discontinued, but they do have a lot of new items. So if you have like a space where you can move a lot of new items, this is a pallet that you may be looking at, or that you may be able to look into, is these CVS pallets. And a lot of this stuff is just stuff that whenever they get the new stuff in the new year, a lot of times they try to replenish those items. They won't just leave like a 2022 item in 2024. They'll have a new item, you know, with updated packaging and different things like that. So there's nothing wrong with the package or nothing wrong with the product itself, but maybe they want to update the package. So a lot of times they'll have new items that you can purchase, and they'll have shelfware. They've been sitting on shelves for a while, and then they'll liquidate them, and you can buy them at a liquidated cost. Now, getting one of these pallets for like $700 is a really good deal, in my opinion, because you're getting a lot of brand new items to be able to flip on your store. All right, so I end up grabbing a couple of these jewelry mystery boxes. It was only $45, so not sure exactly what's in them, but I'm pretty excited to see what's in these, because people have been finding some really cool items. I think we're going to do unboxing on the Pallet Jackin channel. We're going to do like a live kind of unboxing. I think we're going to sell all this stuff probably through Whatnot. So we'll see how that progresses. But let's get over to the house and we'll go over some more things, some more tools for looking for pallets and buying pallets near you. All right, so now that we've checked out my very favorite pallet shop, we're gonna go over to another pallet shop that I used to buy a lot of pallets from, and just check and see what they got. North Georgia Wholesale Liquidation, that's the name of it. All right, so I'm not gonna do a lot of commentary with this one. I want to let you guys kind of look through the pallets and see what would work for you or what could work for you. I definitely want you guys to understand you know, the different types of pallets that they have. Every pallet shop is not going to have the same types of pallets, so this is really showing, like, you know, pallet shop A versus pallet shop B, and see what the difference is you know, within the pallet. So I'm not gonna do a lot of commentary. Like I said, just make sure you look at the brands that I'm going to be showing you. I'm going to be doing some emphasis on some of the brands, so make sure you check out the brands, and then I will show you one very interesting item that I found in one of the pallets that actually made me want to go back and get that pallet. So let's get to it. What's that say? Bugatti? Scooter? Huh. Never seen those before. Bugatti. All right, so that actually had some really cool things. Did y'all see that Bugatti electric scooter? That was, I mean, that could have make you some big money. I couldn't tell if it was like new or used or if it was complete. But that just goes to show you that you can find any and everything on these liquidation pallets. Now, when we talk about pallet stores near you, it's kind of easy to find the pallet stores for me because I know where they're at and I know how to find them. I try to give you guys like tips of finding pallet stores near you, and pallet stores, they pop up anywhere. Most of the time they're going to be in kind of an industrial area. So like right now, the pallet store I'm at right now is, I'm gonna actually show you. So as you can see, this pallet store right here is literally just it's just like a big, huge warehouse. And most of the time, that's what they are. They're just big, huge warehouses amongst a bunch of other warehouses, or in like shopping centers that have warehouses attached. Now, obviously in your area, they may look a little different, or the area may look a little different, but most of the pallet shops I've been to is in an area where they have like these warehouses or like industrial looking areas. And this is a place that we've purchased from quite a bit. It's very quick it's very accessible to the public. So it's right off of the freeway. You can actually see the big, huge sign from the freeway. The freeway is like literally right there next to it. And so people will be enticed to come over here. This one is connected to a flea market. So, you know, look around your flea market areas. They may have pallet shops. But the best way that I always tell people to find pallet shops that are near you is to look on Facebook. Facebook has been the best source for me to find pallet shops. Not necessarily buying pallets from them through Facebook, but finding pallet shops that are local, that are close to me, that I can actually drive to. So this one right here is about 15 to 20 minutes away from my house, depending on the traffic. But like I said, it's right off of the freeway. So sometimes the freeway gets a little backed up right here because it's at the Tennessee-Georgia state line. And it's very convenient to my house. I can get here in 15, 20 minutes. I don't have to load the pallet a long way. And it's just convenient for me to come to this pallet store. Now, this pallet store has different pallets, different programs than the pallet shop that I normally go to, which is Bargain Spot LLC. Now, that's where you have to look at the product, because every pallet store is going to have different product. And the different programs that they have, normally they have the same kind of programs, but sometimes they have new programs. So this one, this store, I didn't show you, I didn't record it, but they had like these huge jewelry pallets, like the Amazon jewelry. So if you saw at the other pallet store, they had the mystery boxes with the Amazon jewelry. So a lot of these programs are all the same programs, but they may be broken up a lot differently. This place had the jewelry pallets were $3,000, but you had like 7,500 pieces of jewelry in them, versus buying a $45 mystery box that's going to have a lot less pieces in them, but it's a little more affordable, a little more attainable. So, you know, if you were a person that wanted to get started doing these mystery boxes, you could buy a couple of those, you know, $3,000 jewelry pallets and make smaller jewelry mystery boxes and sell those. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways that you can sell liquidation. It's not all, it doesn't always look the same. It doesn't always look like, okay, you buy a pallet and then you list the stuff on eBay or you sell them whatnot. You know, you may have to sell it in a different way. So we definitely don't want to do mystery boxes, even though we have purchased a lot of mystery boxes, and a lot of people have asked us to make or to do mystery boxes, to sell mystery boxes. It's just something that we don't necessarily want to do, because I know the demand is there. So if somebody really wanted to get into do it, the demand is there for mystery boxes, to make those and to ship those. But it's just it's a lot of work, you know, and I already got like too many jobs. If y'all see my previous video, y'all heard me talk about my multiple jobs that I have, and that's just another job that I don't want to do. So I'm gonna get back to the house, and then we're gonna kind of go over my final thoughts for buying liquidation. I'm gonna show you a couple tips and tricks for buying liquidation near you. All right, so I just wanted to go through and show you guys how I look through pallets. I definitely just look at the items that I can see on the pallet. I scan them, I look at the sold comps on eBay, and then I kind of evaluate what I can sell on that pallet just by what I can see. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to see everything on the pallet. A lot of times they stack the pallets in a way to where you can see the most valuable items on the outside. So you think that it's going to be like a super great pallet, but sometimes it's not the best pallet. But that's the way that I do it. I scan the items if I can scan them. I look up the part numbers. I look at how many items is on the pallet, and I think, you know, hey, am I going to be profitable on this pallet? Sometimes it's great. Sometimes I get it right. Sometimes I don't. So I just wanted to let you guys know, like, my process for looking at pallets and looking at what's on the pallets and kind of getting the value of what I can make, you know, what I can make on that pallet. So when we talk about finding liquidation pallets near you, the 3 ways that I do it is through word of mouth, through Facebook Marketplace or Google, and I look at liquidation map. Those are 3 ways that I kind of look at how I can find liquidation pallets near me. I made a whole video about liquidation map, and also with Facebook, where I'm going to do like a quick refresher, because I do get that question most often on these videos about where to find liquidation pallets. So I'm going to show you some of the websites, some of the Facebook pages, and show you how I find liquidation pallets near me. Now, also, I make sure that I understand who I'm buying pallets from. I have a relationship with each and every person that I buy pallets from. I know their names, I know their phone numbers, I can text them, I can call them. So you need to make sure that you have a relationship with the people that you're doing business with. So don't just send your money Cash App or Zelle to somebody that you don't know, because there's so many liquidation scams out there, and you don't want to be scammed on your first pallet purchase. So make sure you know who you're sending your money to. If you can, make sure you visit those people. Now I know that everybody doesn't have a pallet shop near them, so they will have to get a pallet shipped in, but just make sure you understand who you're doing business with. Make sure they've done business with other people. Make sure there is a healthy history of people buying pallets from them, because you don't want to be scammed. All right, so we're going to go over to liquidationmap.com. Very simple, very easy. You can click on view liquidation map, and it will show you just a map of the whole country, United States only. And there are a couple in different places, like I guess this is what, Hawaii maybe, and wherever that is. But for the most part, most of them are going to be in the United States. You can zoom in and to see all the liquidation places that could be near you. Right now, we're going to be focusing on Florida, just because I'm not familiar with the liquidation spots in Florida. So in Florida, we're going to go down to central or to southern Florida kind of, and we have a place right here called Deal Drops. This is a liquidation bin spot. They do have liquidation there. Here's another place, which is F&S Liquidations LLC. That's in St. Pete in Florida. We also have another place here called Our Family Liquidation. That's going to be in, I'm not sure exactly where that is, but it's going to be somewhere in Florida. But you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. You just go in here, you look at the map, and you can find your state, and you can find pretty much where your liquidation stores are. Now, what you can tell by this map is that there's not a lot of liquidation stores in the central United States area. So if you are in Colorado or Wyoming or Nebraska, there's not that many liquidation spots, if not any. There may be some, but they're not uploaded to liquidation map. This map is pretty accurate. When I go through and I look at Tennessee, and I look at the liquidation spots that they have on the map in Tennessee, they are pretty accurate. So I'm just going to say that this is pretty, maybe 80% accurate, whatever. But there are a lot of liquidation spots, so you can go through and kind of click through here and find some liquidation spots. They do have the address, sometimes the phone number, and sometimes the website of the stores that you could buy from. All right, so Facebook can sometimes be difficult because it may not necessarily bring up legitimate sites, but I do just type in liquidation near me, and a lot of times it will bring up liquidation spots that are near me. I can look right here, North Georgia Wholesale Liquidations. That's literally the place I went to in this video. And then they have a couple other ones here that some of them I'm familiar with, some of them I'm not familiar with. So there may be some liquidation spots that they have on here that I have not visited. So there are quite a bit of them here near me. But if you do type in liquidation near me in Facebook, more than likely it will pull up at least 3 or 4 legitimate spots that you can check out. So you will have to do some research, but definitely just type that in, liquidation near me, and you can find some spots. Now, what I have found is that sometimes they don't have the liquidations places do not have Facebook pages, but they have Facebook groups. So you have to go down into the groups and see which groups they have, which ones are active. A lot of them, they'll have a lot of members. The North Georgia Wholesale Liquidation, they actually have a group, and it has like over 20,000 members in it. So it's very legitimate, obviously, because you just saw me go to the store. But, it's a place that you can go through, and if you have a group, you can see people, sometimes they share what they purchase, sometimes they share the things that are on the pallets. A lot of times they share which pallets they get in. They'll share the loads that they get in, so you can go do a little bit of a preview. North Georgia Wholesale Liquidation, a lot of times they just show, they'll just say, hey, we have a truckload of pallets coming in today on Friday. So that they do have new merchandise that you can go over and purchase. But definitely don't skip out on the groups, because groups, a lot of times you will see a lot more of what you're going to get before you get there. Now, be leery of groups as well, because you don't want to enter a group, a liquidation group that has like a bunch of members and everybody can post, because that will breed, that's a breeding room for scams. So a lot of people that are scammers will come into these liquidation groups where they can post stuff and then post like, hey, we got these pallets. They'll show a whole bunch of photos and then they'll scam people. So be leery about that, but this is a really great source for finding liquidation pallets near you. All right, so that is going to be it for today, guys. I hope you got some value from this video. I know it's kind of a little bit of a different format of what I've been doing for the last couple of videos, but I did want to show you guys how I go through and source pallets. I get that question quite a bit, like literally every single day, about how I source pallets and where I get my pallets from. So I want to make this video just kind of show my process for buying pallets and where I get them from and how to find them in your location. So if you like these types of videos, please like, share, and subscribe. Really appreciate it. Also hit that bell icon so you get notifications whenever I release new videos, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.